Doctor and Call comes to you compliments Antillean Life Insurance, Hills and Valley Pharmacy, and the Spice Isle Imaging Center.
Drug abuse, cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Doctor on Call. It is our final live program for 2022. And folks, tonight we are going to look back and then we are going to look ahead. Yeah, very, very important. Of course, look back at how 2022 was. And as we do the program, we'd like you as individuals, our listeners, to reflect and ask yourself, have I done a good job as it relates to my health? And if not, I want you to commit to yourself that you are going to be doing a much better job as we head into 2023. Despite what, we have achieved quite a lot in 2022 health-wise, and I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. And of course, I think we do have something to look forward to. We've heard that from the budget, larger allocation was made for health, and we are looking forward to seeing how that will work out. So tonight, this is our final program, and I'll tell you, Dr. Nixon, I know she needs the rest. So I'm going to give her early vacation. I'm going to give her a very, very early vacation. And I probably might bring her back very, very early in the new year. So I don't want to get too all happy and excited. But Doc, good evening and welcome. How are you doing?
Good evening. My favorite weather, it's raining, so I'm happy. I'm doing okay.
That won't be for long.
I know, it's a couple of days.
Yes.
Well, the other thing is, catch me if you can in January. I wish you luck.
Well, actually, I'll be off on vacation for most of January. Actually.
Also, we won't start until February.
We late January we'll be coming back. Late January. So yes, but nevertheless, it's really. By the time
we come back, is Cancer Awareness Month?
Actually, I was looking at it. February. Yes, I was looking at
World Cancer Day, and the next month we're talking about childhood obesity.
Yes.
And
so
there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot. So 2022 was quite an interesting year. It's the year we can probably say we were able to finally, well, no, not finally, but to a large extent get in control of COVID-19. And of course, there were other things that we were able to do, but just to say that, looking back at 2021, and where we were with COVID-19, 2022 was a good year. Doc?
Yeah, I think 2022 was a year of learning and behavior change for us. We had to behave differently in order to exist. We saw 200 people die in the summer of 2021. In 6 weeks, we lost 200 citizens. Some families lost 3 and 4 people. That's no easy thing. We're a small population. We're only 100,000 people. So even on a good day, like a day like today when it's raining, we just 100,000 people, with a few visitors. The bottom line is that we need to step up the pace, because what we've shown is that we're able to do good things for our lives. So collectively, we have to get together. It's been a good year for this program, I think, too, because people have engaged. People have asked questions. They've put their backs against the wall, and they've asked questions because they wanted to know. I think we've done relatively well trying to give information to empower people. So last year I had COVID, so I could hide behind my mask. If I don't talk, nobody knows me. These days, people see me on the street and ask me a question. And I think it's a good place to be, because people have become inquisitive. Mm-hmm. They're curious. How do I do this? Right? So I think 2020 from that standpoint was good. I think we covered a very broad range and profoundly.
Yes.
So when we are looking at what we need to do, the changes for the health system, took a month. When we had cancer dealing with, we took breast cancer in October, it took the whole month. There were so many facets and just simple little things. And we're still not finished. It's just the beginning. We can start all over with what we did and do it over. But there's just so much information to share. But I think we have to applaud the population for wanting, for being thirsty for that information, wanting more and wanting more and wanting more.
Yes.
And obviously, some people have been applying it. So let's see how disease patterns, how disease works out for us, how wellness works out, especially now since the ministry actually has a department for wellness, focused on keeping people unsick.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
You know,
have a disease, but you don't have to be ill.
That's right. That's right. You know, you mentioned you mentioned having to stay behind your mask and all of that, and it's interesting because despite some of despite the difficulties we faced with COVID, there were many good lessons. That was taught, and I think many of us learned it. And even so, we had the convenience of staying at our homes or where we are, and we were still able to disseminate information to people via virtual means, and that was a plus. Nowadays, the media has changed. Most programs, most things are done now via virtual means, and that in itself is significant. So yes, despite the difficulties, there were some good lessons.
Yeah, and I want to thank the Grenadian people and those in the diaspora in particular who do sign in. People come and tell me, "Oh, my friend in Germany meets you. Oh, my friend in Germany and my friend in wherever listens to us." So it means that we're giving the people what they deserve.
Indeed.
But I want to thank the people for letting us in, because you have so many options. But for letting this program in to share, we aim to do the best. We're not perfect, but we're heading towards better. I want to thank you for letting us in and accepting. And I like criticism. So if it's not good, just say fix it. And people tell me.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Somebody called me about my face last week, and it's funny. I was not upset. I wasn't angry. I just realized I needed to think clearly about how to respond to a certain, somebody's words.
Yes.
And so I got serious, and somebody called and said, "Girl, you need to fix it."
Yes, indeed.
But I really wasn't upset. I just need to realize, how am I going to do this? And I looked serious, but I wasn't angry. But that I welcome, because I also need to be aware. We also need to be aware that we're giving something, and we have to give something that's real, that's genuine, because people trust. And we hope that the trust will go further in the new year. You talked about the budget, and we probably touched on some aspects of it, but I think it does put a little light into and a little hope into the possibilities of the health system, right? Evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Transformation is the word used, but we need change. And I've been saying that for years. It cannot be business as usual.
No, it can't. It
cannot be just the government doing anything. It has to be the government. It has to start with individuals and their families, and what you do in your family to take care of this. What you do in your village. What you do in your church community. What you do at work. What you do in the workplace. In town. In your parish. What you do as a country, and what the government does to help all of this. We're going to have to recognize everybody has a responsibility and everybody has a right. And that's the way the health system is going to have to go in order to be successful. Recognizing that everybody has a right to health care that's affordable, available, accessible, right? So we shouldn't have to get poor in order to try and live. And we see people who have diseases like cancer have to sell the cow and sell the house and sell something, cash off something to get the money, or go to the bank and get an account. You may not hear about it a lot in Grenada, but the truth is, it does occur where people become impoverished, or impoverished people already poor just have no access. So those are the things that have to be things. And we'll talk about this when we come to talk about health insurance and having a national health insurance, having health care for everyone, talking about redeveloping and restructuring and using again the primary healthcare system to its optimum, talking about having new facilities for care, having a hospital that's designed to be in tandem, as a partner, dancing a tango with the primary care system. We've all seen the tango. It's a complicated dance, but the two people move like nothing happened. But there's a lot of underfoot movements and stuff.
Yes.
So we need to figure out how we're going to do this. And all of us, yes, I know there are people who would say, don't be a naysayer. Let's all put some positive energy. And this is not about politics. It's just about Grenadians being well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The whole approach to wellness does actually kind of embrace the thing about having a wealthy nation. Because if you're going to build wealth, you have to have people. It makes sense to have money and you can't enjoy it. Or sick people can't build country. Okay? So we need to have a healthy nation.
Definitely.
And it has to start with our young people. It has to start with our young mothers being healthy to deliver healthy children. It has to start with our children having access to vaccination and being breastfed and places for them to run up and down and having good food, right? And one of the things that the Prime Minister spoke about, and I want to speak about this right here, because the Prime Minister spoke about taxing certain things. And I'm going to start with the things that get taxed anyway, just like going to be increased. Taxing of tobacco, right? Taxing of alcohol. No, those things have been taxed, and we have been asked. There's ongoing talk, I guess, because it doesn't come to the fore, and the people at a ministerial level, at a government level, runs it and try to deal with it. Bringing it to the fore, I think, was very important, so the public knows that this is something we can do in order to make to avoid more unwellness. You get where I'm coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So less people smoking, people will drink less. The truth is, when you tax things, people buy less because it costs more. Okay? The cost of living already has gone up so phenomenally high with COVID because of transportation and whatever else. Right?
And this is very significant, Doc, very, very significant that, the cost of living is already high. And having
things that are good for us should not be part of our budget.
Exactly. And I think people are going to recognize that. And I think it's going to work very, very, very well. I think it's going to work well.
Sugar sweetened beverages.
Yes.
It's something that we've talked about. I know past Minister of Education, Emmeline Peer, had spoken about not selling sugar sweetened beverages in schools. That's something that has to be a little better structured. It's a very good move, right? Very, very, very good initiative. But we have to do it within a different kind of framework so that it works, right? People have to understand why we're doing this. We have to educate the public as to why we're doing that. The Mexicans, I was talking to some young people today. 2 young people walked into my office and we were talking about these things. And the Mexicans drink a lot of soda as a means of hydration.
Yeah.
Simply because their water is so poor. Everybody talk of Montezuma's revenge. You drink the water, you get giardiasis and amelioidosis, which are parasites in the water. Cause severe cramps, cause infection of your liver, your gut. It's very sickening. Okay, a lot of diarrheal disease related to it. Their children, they had a very elevated level of obesity among their children. The Mexican children, but the children, because we're really concerned about childhood obesity. They tax their sugar sweetened beverages. Not petty tax, taxed. The level of obesity in children went down. The Mexicans banned the sale of ramen. You know the ramen that we buy for $1 a pack and give to our children, the cardboard thing that we give our children to eat, that have a lot of fat, a lot of salt, okay, and all that, what can I ever highly processed carbs, right? The flour that makes the twiggly things. They banned the sale of that in the country.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right? You can buy it if you want and bring it in, but you can't sell it to the population. They don't stop at importation. That's trade laws. But they said, no, you can't sell it in the country. Recently, I think it was a song to one of my colleagues in public health. And I think it was Argentina that just put very high taxes on highly processed foods. So like the chips, the pasta, you know my favorite. What the hell is pasta? The chips, the foods that are very, very highly processed that we buy, cookies, all the stuff like that, right? Regardless whether they're salt, whether they're savory or sweet, they have been taxed highly. Guess what it is? Parents are going to buy less for their children. We're going to have less obesity. But eat a ripe fig, eat a mango, suck some tamarind, drink some water. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
Eat an orange.
And I think what it would do as well, it will also allow people the opportunity or chance to explore other options. So, for example, you might be tempted now to plant a banana at the back of the house so you can get a ripe banana. You might be tempted
just eat a ripe fig that's on the counter.
Yeah.
That's in the kitchen. Listen to me. A piece of hungry catch me today here. And I went up to my mother's house and they had a golden apple. It was so satisfying. All that fiber, sweet, but not sickening sweet, right? Peel off the golden apple and wax it off so quickly. Very satisfying. I'm like, oh my goodness, this feels good, right? We have to teach our children those habits. We have to reestablish. We have to get away from, well, I eat too much golden apple as a child. I don't want my child to live like that. No, that has to go away. We have to get back to eating our foods. We have to plan what we eat, and we have to eat well.
Mm-hmm.
We saw how we suffered in COVID when there was no transportation. All the things we are accustomed getting just were not available, and we survived it. Right? Some of us went out and planted food because we were locked down for so long. The truth is, we can do this. One of the other things we have to consider in all of this change is the reinstatement of something called health and all policies. And the Prime Minister again mentioned where the importance of the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Sports and all of them coming in to ensure that our population is healthy. One, you want to ask, so where does finance come in all of this? Well, the finance kind of manages a lot of the data that we use, how much we buy, how much we sell, what we consume. But they also need to for us to get foreign exchange to buy, that's come from Ministry of Finance, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of those things. If we have taxation, they manage the taxation. The challenge is that even if we tax those stuff, the taxes in Grenada are still all taxes collected go into the consolidated fund. There are other countries, however, that have, like Jamaica has a national health fund. All of what they call the sin tax, alcohol and tobacco, and I guess they have sugar, sweet, and beverage and stuff. What they call the sin tax, sin as sin that you need to go to confession for, right? All of those taxes go into a special fund. That fund takes care of all of chronic disease. Mm-hmm. So if you were an asthmatic, you get your inhalers at a very, very, very discounted price, literally nominal price.
Right.
You get your inhalers, you get your machine. If you have diabetes, you get your tablets, you get your blood glucose monitoring. If you have an ulcer, you get medication to your dressings and all the rest. And that comes out of the sin tax. So that's something we have to consider. The truth is there's going to have to be change to our legislation. I don't know if it's the Constitution. I don't know which level, but the point is there's going to have to be change if we were to have that way. But we know that if you can control those
mm-hmm.
okay, we are in a better place. But it's not just the Ministry of Health. It takes more than one of us. Ministry of Education, very, very important, especially when we're working towards controlling childhood obesity. So we have a big task, but I think collectively the 100,000 of us can do that, even if rain falling. I think we can do this. I think we have to come together in a very non-partisan way. We have to come together as Grenadians, because the truth is we're dying too young for things that we can avoid. We're too sick and too unproductive. Okay, when you get ill and you can't produce, even if you're 70 years on your way, you should be able to, still go plant your garden, go on the beach with your friends, do stuff. Mm-hmm. Everywhere is near in Grenada. It's a pity we don't want to see even our retirees old already. You know that thing? I old already. No. We have to try and make sure that we enjoy the life we have while we're here. Bright sunshine, beach, they're free of cost. Go on the river, go do whatever you want to do. You can go wherever you want. Go on a tour on the island. Do things, walk with your friends, go pray and walk in the morning. Do things that can make you well without much cost. But we have to stay well. So we're glad the ministry has actually included a wellness component into its work. because I think it looks sincerely at the preventative component of healthcare, of health and wellness.
Right.
Because health is one thing, wellness is another thing. So let's see how we go.
Oh, definitely. We were talking a bit about, some of what we've achieved through our programming in the past year. And I just want to say, because I really don't want to forget, I think it is so important. Many of our partners, and I'm talking here about many of the doctors that came on, willingly supported us. We were able to put on our health forum, which was excellent. We had the people from the public health. We had people from our dear friend
technological services.
Yes, indeed. We also had the mental health aspect. We also had the area of insurance and helping people to understand the importance of having some form of security
and food and nutrition.
Well, I was going to come to them. As a matter of fact, they were on our Simply Agriculture program earlier, sharing with us some recipes that we can consider for Christmas using our local organic foods. They've been, the GFNC have been extremely supportive of our programs, and I really want to thank them for the support. The family, how do you call it? The family planning. Well, we know it like that. Grenada Planned Parenthood Association, and so it's been such a wonderful journey in 2022, and we're looking forward to doing more of that as we look ahead. So, Doc, let's just
hold on before we take a break. Because also, sometimes you feel a passivity and that receiving from our audience, the people who join us every week, and some of them call, and that's highly appreciated. But suggestions are always welcome.
Indeed.
There are things that people want to hear that we may not think about because we're not all in the community as often with them. The things that are bothering them. There's one person we did, and then remember the environmental one. There's one individual who recurrently brings up the issue of the air quality.
Yes.
That not only he breathes, but the people in his neighborhood, and all of us by extension, because there's so much toxins. So that's also very important. So people want us to talk about topics. I think they should all stick and also ask, especially as it relates to how do we keep our population well.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So let's take our break quickly, and we're going to come back, and we have a year ahead of us that should be a very interesting one. We would start looking ahead. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment, folks.
Shop and win at Real Value this Christmas. Anyone spending $50 or more can win $5,000, $2,500, and $1,500 in cash and shopping vouchers. Simply place your receipt with your name, address, and phone number in the barrel provided. Promotion starts November 21st and runs until December 23rd, with the grand draw of the morning of December 24th. Plus, anytime you use your Real Value Shoppers card, you can win day passes to Royalton, hamper baskets, wine, and more. Promotion runs from November 21st till December 30th. Shop at Real Value this Christmas.
Here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Spicile Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Spicile Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. Here's another little known fact. Spicile Imaging has 3 centers. We operate at Grenville, the Carnage, and at the Ocean House, Grandlands. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679. or 406-1500, or visit any of our 3 locations. Spicile Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antilian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Spicile Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Spicile Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. Here's another little known fact. Spicile Imaging has 3 centers. We operate at Grenville, the Carnage, and at the Ocean House, Grandlands. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679. or 406-1500, or visit any of our 3 locations. Spicile Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Gather family and friends and those you know. Shop for your season's needs and more. Celebrate this Christmas. Make your season bright. Forget your troubles, at least for a night. Get a GCCU Light Up Your Christmas loan to make your season merry and light. Purchase appliances and furniture, household goods and home repairs to give your life a little cheer. Easy application and fast approval. Terms and conditions apply. Light up your Christmas with a loan from the GCCU, Grenville Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Call 473-442-8602 or visit us at grencu.org for more information.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Doctor on Call, and folks, we are going to engage you early this evening, so you can, post your questions. Those of you on Facebook or Facebook friends, you can post your questions in the chat, and suggestions as well, and we would definitely take them. Our telephone line, you can also give us a call, 435-2041. So, Doc, as we move on, we're getting ready. Of course, Christmas is right at the door. We've already advised the people of the importance of paying attention to their level of consumption. Yes, could be very, very dangerous. And we don't want, after Christmas, our hospitals get overcrowded with loads of hypertensive patients and diabetic patients and all of these things. So please be mindful of that. We're getting ready to move into 2023. We've been getting a lot of rain recently. But of course, we do anticipate a lot of heat. It's going to be dry. And there are conditions that people need to pay attention to in all seasons as we get ready to move into 2023. Some important pointers that you may want to share with our listeners.
I guess the same pointers we do at the beginning of every year. Maybe it's a good time now. I want everybody to start assuming responsibility for themselves.
Indeed.
And your family. the bottom line is that despite the fact that we have $114 million, that's 140 with 6 naught, okay? That's a lot of money, it looks like. But there's a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Well, that's $11,000 per person, right? If you're going to invest in 100,000 of us. So it's not a lot of money. I want people to start considering, how can I change? We can only make suggestions. You can make change. What can I do better? Because I know people have started. People tell you, they've started.
Mm-hmm.
And I met a lady last week and I was asking her one thing. But she needs to take, every time we come on the program, learn one thing that enhances your own well-being. But seek information. You seek out knowledge, right? Knowledge is power. When you know what's going on, you know what's going on. Other than that, there are facilities, and it's available. It's not first class, but it's available. Let's see how we can keep well.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, this is 2023. Everything dear. So let's keep well. Let's keep well by becoming physically active. Our children need to exercise at least 30 minutes a day. So they don't need to walk up to the school and drop them inside the classroom and open your car door, let them sit on a desk and you drive out. Drop the car at the gate and he walks in. Right? Children who live in communities can walk to school. We used to walk to school together.
Yeah, we did, definitely.
Yes. And wish we have dog muzzles so when rain fall, you could walk in rain. Right? Yeah, seriously, I tell my mother to buy me dog muzzles.
We made it our duty, Doc, to walk in the drains where the water was flowing. With our dog muzzles.
With our dog muzzles.
Yes, indeed.
When hot sun is a different story, but we're not going there. But encourage your children to exercise. You know, handhelds are good, they can play with the games, but let's decrease this childhood obesity thing. Let's change the way we eat. What we eat. The sugar-sweetened drinks. Everywhere you go, somebody has a sugar-sweetened. If there are 10 of us, 6 of us have a sugar-sweetened drink. Water is still good. Water is still really good. And water, you can get water at your house to drink. You don't have to buy a bottle of water for $5. It's not absolutely necessary. If you prepare your water at home, you're good. Okay? Water is still the best beverage, especially for your children. The fruits, fresh fruits are always around. And if you plant an orange tree, I give you a joke. The Jamaicans would buy, well, all my Jamaican friends who get a property to build a house, even before the house start build, you buy the land and you have it sit down there. You plant a breadfruit tree, I kid you not, a coconut tree, an ackee tree, an avocado tree, a lime tree.
Yes,
so
indeed.
by the time they build their house and then they have
yes, you have
something in their
fruits, yeah.
backyard.
Uh-huh.
There are habits we can create as Grenadians, right? And like I tell a lady last week, if you have enough space to park a car in your yard, then you have enough space to plant some food, right? In the state of California, for example, there are areas where they don't encourage lawns. They encourage people to have gardens in front of their houses so that they live. The Australians do that a lot. They have gardens in front of their houses and around their houses to sustain themselves. I know it's nice going to the supermarket and pushing your cart with all the pretty expensive things, but gardening is also a form of exercise.
It is. It is.
Right? And sometimes in some places you have community gardens where you and your friends will have like a lot, like the size of a bed, and you plant stuff there and you share and whatever it is. So you have to get creative. Okay? We have to get creative about how we eat, how we live, right? To get enough sleep, you have to avoid the alcohol, you have to avoid the tobacco, you have to avoid the other substances, the cannabis and the hard substances. Yes, and I know it's hard, but we're going to seek out help so we can all have a better life. What I'm going to ask people this year, in order for us to all grow, that is, together we can all move forward, is to extend a little more tolerance to the people with mental illness. So I'm concerned that our people with mental illness are being left who go to the street are being left unattended. Because we used to have mentally ill people on the street, but now we have very dirty and very marginalized mentally ill people on the road. In the past, they'd come walk up and down town and probably go back home. Now there are lots of them, a lot more. But this is a small space. Everybody know who that boy related to or that lady related to. Okay? So I want us to start being a little more tolerant and supporting families who have people with mental illness, so that they can support the people with mental illness. They can take them off the street. They can go back into the family setting where mentally ill people actually do better. Once there's support, they do a lot better. A lot better than if we leave them become institutionalized. They're just up there or they're locked away. There's no need for most of the people who live in a mental institution to be there, right? So that if we can do that, we can have more funds to deal with the acute situations. People who come with depression, people who have anxiety, children with behavioral problems, children who have challenges learning, and all the rest of it. We can deal with that because a little more money. And of course, that we can get our society looking, downtown looks a little better because all of us are growing together and we're not allowing people who belong to us to be walking up and down the street. The poverty is not that abject yet, unless it's poverty of our own spirits. So I want all of us to focus on mental wellness as one of the ways. If you feel you're not doing well, find someone to talk to. So we're going to try and decrease the amount of suicides we have. Parents, be a little more tolerant to your children academically. We've known of some of our children who have actually died by suicide because of the pressure for accomplishments.
Yes, we've heard a few.
It's nice to have 13 ones, but it's okay to have 6 twos and 5 ones. It's all right. It's good. It's just as good. And if you're doing 13 O-levels, 13 CXCs, the truth is that you probably have enough time to play, and you can't need to do that anyway, right? So we need to also create that balance in the life of our young people. Food, mental health, nutrition, general well-being. Those are some of the things I want to see us work on next year. Really work on. I want to see the other agencies like Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Sports, Ministry of Education, focus on its policies and others, social development, focus on its policies with a very strong health component. How can I contribute to health? How can I make this a part of health? So if you're going to develop, let's say you're going to develop a module, a teaching module on in sports, as a teaching sports, teaching PE or in PE, you can piggyback health. Why is it important to walk? Saying, okay, we're going to walk, not just techniques, but also that integration of activity that will make us all well. And especially for young people that they need to understand, yes, I also need to do this because I'm going to get old like my mother and my grandmother. And we don't want that when you get old, like your mother and your grandmother and your grandfather, whoever it is, that is when you realize, shoot, I should have been doing that. I shouldn't be doing that. Those are some of the things. What I would also like to see is, like I mentioned earlier, is the development of a national health insurance.
Yes, indeed.
And that's a generic name, okay?
And that was mentioned, yeah.
Yes, it was mentioned. But I want to see a national health insurance that ensures that there's equity, that there's quality, that there's proper care, that is good outcomes, that everything, right? And above all, that people don't get poor, right? Universal health care has to be made available for all Grenadians. The truth is, I don't know about having, this is Sonia Nixon speaking, I'm speaking as myself when I'm saying this, because I don't have enough knowledge to argue this, but what I can see, to know that our population is big enough to have a health insurance that comes from investors, because investors want good returns on their monies when they put it in a system. But I don't think we have enough people. I don't think we have critical mass. I expect the government to be very judicious in implementing a health system that is, yes, giving care, but it must give good quality care.
Yeah. Well, that's the most important aspect of it.
But that's not necessarily what is envisioned. Because sometimes somebody give you something in a nice package, and when you open it, it's a dud.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that when they said 2024, and that's good, I'm glad there's time that's going to be taken, that when that is implemented, that it's something that everybody can access, but it's of high standards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That our people who in there understand what we need. The caregivers understand, and they also are in a system that embraces them and their talent. That's where they feel supported. That there's good leadership and governance, that there's enough finance to run the system. Those are the things that create successful health system. That we have enough information technology to make sure we collect data on people. We see how the system is running, so we can evaluate and can monitor and evaluate it and better or change things to make it better, right? And that we have staff that not only are there and are well paid, but they also staff who understand the needs and deliver the services our population needs. That they respect the people they give, that they understand them culturally, that they also, our colleagues, my colleagues and other people who work in the healthcare system, that we make sure that we properly capacitated, meaning that we have the information, the up-to-date information that we need to be able to give the best care to our population. Because those things are going to ensure that we have less expenditure. If we do it right the first time, as right as we can, right, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to understand that this whole health sector development thing is something that's dynamic. It's not going to be the same thing every day. You might start a plan that really doesn't work, but there's something else that you already had experience and you morph into this. It has to change. It has to change also as our population need changes. And you just spoke about this in the beginning. You remember what happened when COVID came? We had to change. We had to change everything to embrace the challenges that COVID brought on. But that was a flash in the pan. That was unexpected. But we have to change. We have to be able to, once you can collect data, to consider, to see before it happens, to predict what is going to happen down the road and how we're going to have to change the system to associate it. Mm-hmm. Okay? Also, we want to ensure that we have people who deliver care who are satisfied in the environment in which they work. I've heard a lot of workers, healthcare workers, and I've seen it, talk of bullying, being unsupported, okay, not being considered for the work that they do. We're going to have to build our health leadership. The people at the top are going to have to understand what their duties are in ensuring that something good happens and something better comes out of it, and that we sustain that. Not at a pace, but constantly growing. Those are the things I want to see starting to happen in 2023, that we have good health. And of course, that we have facilities and we facilitate people so that if I don't care what it is, let's say I have some rare form of cancer and I need radiotherapy, right? I need some new chemotherapy, some new medicine, which is what chemotherapy is really, right? That there's access for me. That is, it's I can get what I need, right? So, and it doesn't matter, and I don't mean me, Dr. Nixon. I mean me, Sonia, the girl from that little community, without any names behind, that have never worked, that have Down syndrome, that is illiterate, that have some learning disability, that have born with a malformation, whatever it is, that we can make sure that care is available, okay, for everybody. And that people feel they can go to where the care centers is. Above all, I'd like to see more people using the primary care system, which is supposed to be developed. Right?
Well, it must
which
be.
is going to be
It must be.
reinstated.
Definitely, no question.
I wish more people use the primary care system with a sense of responsibility to themselves. You have to go there and do it. People are not going to be there if people don't come. There's no need to have a doctor sitting there every day if nobody goes to the doctor and health center. Okay? At the same time, I expect my colleagues to be prepared to deal professionally and to give the highest quality of care because people deserve this.
You know, Doc, I wanted to just, write on this a bit because I meant to talk about it earlier as you were going. And it has to come, that kind of correlation must come from both sides. And let me address people who require health care. We have to understand, these are things I would like us to consider as we move into a new year. Every year, we talk about resolutions and things we would like to change and so. And we have to understand, because you hear a lot of stories, from both sides of the fence. People who require healthcare needs to understand that, look, the people who provide healthcare, they are not miracle workers. They provide a service to the best of their ability. And so sometimes you need to be understanding of what is involved, and sometimes you have to be patient as a patient. You need to be patient as a patient and, give whatever support the healthcare providers require. On the other hand, I also want to say to some of the healthcare providers that, look, and maybe the authority needs to look at this. Maybe in training, so for example, if a nurse goes to training, she should not just be trained in being a support, let's say, to the doctor or the physician, but to also understand the importance of providing service. So it's not just, having to
So you're talking about building the capacity of the people who develop.
That's right.
Who develop. So
yeah.
So it's not just the academic capacity. It's
exactly.
The relationship.
So that's right. So it's not just
with our population.
Providing medication or taking the numbers or getting the figures. It goes a little beyond that. Because you hear stories sometimes from people who require the health care that they've not been treated nicely. And I'm just speaking broadly here.
Yeah, but at the same time, in defense of people who I would normally work with, and that's where it's really integrative, okay? Because, like you say, we must be given tools to work. Right? In order for the staff to give care, optimal care, you have to be provided with optimal conditions. And I think that's what I see, the changes that are proposed, and I hope they can be realized.
No, and this is why I said, Doc, patients need to be patient, because these are things you need to recognize. So I'm speaking here from both sides of the fence. So sometimes, yes, as a patient, you have to understand that, okay, well, you go to the hospital or you go to get some medical care and you're probably asked to wait and you feel sick, you don't feel well, and we know what can happen when someone don't feel that way. You want to feel well immediately, and you expect the nurse or the doctor to work a miracle. Well, it doesn't happen that way. So that's what I'm saying. On the other side, we need to understand the importance of trying to know where we are and what is available. And so on the other hand, I'm also saying that the people who provide the service need to also understand what these people are going through. So it's this, as you said, an integrative approach.
Must be compassion. There must be empathy.
Definitely. So it's a two-way thing that must come together, must correlate, and you have an excellent end result. Another thing I also want to touch on, and you mentioned quite a few earlier, but I want to mention the area of public health with special emphasis on environmental health. And I want to be very blunt here and very firm. There are many among us who need to do better with our surroundings. We are untidy, and I'm putting it bluntly. And we probably do not understand how that kind of attitude can affect our health. If we live in a filthy environment, we can get sick and we can die. And it's important to ensure that our environment is clean. You know, Doc, I'm sure you can remember as young children growing up. We had to sweep the yard every morning. We had to sweep under the house. We had to make sure that the drains were clean. There were a lot of things we had to do. All part of maintaining a healthy environment. I remember there used to be health officers coming around. You used to have a card stuck somewhere in your house where they would come. As a little boy, I never knew what they were doing.
When the sanitary inspector comes.
Exactly, and they would write something there.
Health officer, yeah.
Well,
by the toilet, by the latrine.
Definitely. You know, sometimes I pass through some places and you see some little drains in front of people's houses, and it's filthy. And you
complain about flooding.
We complain about not only that, and I used to remember that we would talk about the drain have ringworm, and from the time you see these little things starting to wind around in the water, the father in the house would get a spade and clean it so the water can run.
Whatever you can.
Whatever. And I see these things happening. You have this filthy grass, wetty and murky in drains in front of people's houses, and they do absolutely nothing about it. You wait for when the road workers come around to clean it for you. You don't have to do that. You can play your part in ensuring that you live in a healthy and clean environment. Because you have a responsibility.
The throwing out of garbage out of windows.
Exactly. We have a
lot of other things that we do.
Have a responsibility to ensure that we take care of ourselves and our environment. And if we do that as a people, one, we would create less stress on our health sector. So there are conditions that require a lot more care than others. A lot of the resources can be placed there so that, you know, that aspect of it can be dealt with better.
Yeah, everybody's responsible for keeping our country.
I really wanted to say that because it's been on my mind.
I'll give you a joke. As walking in front, after you pass Foodland, going towards West Scotia Bank was, Republic Bank. Mm-hmm. It's probably about 4 years ago. I'm going to the dentist like 7:45 in the morning. And there's a guy who's setting up a stall to sell something that's going to be edible. I don't know what it was, okay? And he had a drink bottle. And he walked across and dropped the bottle in the drink. And I automatically said, pick it up. I'm walking, I don't stop. I said, pick it up. He looks at me like in shock. I said, pick it up. This is not good. And he sheepishly picked it up and said, boy, miss your heart. And I said, no, look at where you are. You're selling right there and dumping garbage in front of your food shop. Right? Mm-hmm. So, I wish you'd be a little more house proud, a little more proud of the environment in where you live. In front of your home, you clean in front of your yard, you sweep it up, you make it look pretty, you plant new flowers. We kind of need to go back to that place where
yes. You
didn't want to just have a big house, but it must be a house that looks like I like this and I want to make sure that I live there comfortably.
So it's important. It's very important.
And we have to teach our children all of these things. We have to set up values for our children.
Oh, definitely.
Because they're going to take this back into their future. And it's going to be worse. We have more mosquitoes. We're going to have more mosquitoes because we have climate change. We have global warming.
There's going to be more. There's going to be more rodents. There's going to be more rodents because if we throw garbage, they feed on these things. They multiply and then they become uncontrollable. So these are things, and I'm saying that, folks, because I really want
these are very practical things.
It is. I really want us, when we start thinking about resolutions and goals that we're going to make for the new year, these are some of the simple things that we can consider. And they may appear simple, but you'd be surprised how far-reaching they can go and how much they can actually help us.
And these are things we can do as communities, huh?
Yes.
When we have community meetings or in your church. How do you keep the church clean? How do you keep it? And you get habits that spread into your community. But we're gonna have, there are community meetings. What can we do to make our community better? We don't have to wait until the gang passes to clean. You can make sure Everybody can make sure in front of their yard is clean.
Yes, exactly. That's my
In North
point.
America, you're actually responsible for the space along the road that your house occupies.
Well, that's
so there's garbage on it. You get.
Let me tell you. We call it our gap. You have to sweep your gap. You have to clean in front of your gap. Yes. And we need and look, folks, this is so important. And you should have pride. They should bring a sense of pride in you when someone walk past your gap and they see how clean your gap look. You know, somebody pass and they see your gap. The next thing they do, they're gonna watch it by your house. You know, because it says something about the people who live in the area. You know, and it would rub off well. It would leave a good signal. So let's think about these things. Our environment. In our health forum earlier, we had Dr. Sonia, and also Dr. What was the other gentleman name? I'm forgetting his name now. They want the doctor who spoke on the environment from St. George's University.
Dr.
His name has just slipped.
I'll tell you it is in a while.
But you know, we spoke about all these things, and it's really important. Free information that can make a significant difference in our lives. So let's give some thought to that. So, Doc, before I come back to you and we go to the telephone,
I want to see us also focusing more on screening. Mm-hmm. We kind of glazed it in the beginning.
But Doc, I tell you what, this is important because I was going to get there. Let's just take our final break, and when we come back, we'll go to screening and then we'll open our telephone lines. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Well, it doesn't seem as if our operators are ready for us yet. So, yes, let's go to our screening aspect. And callers, we're coming to you. I know you're calling. Once we, Doc, finish speaking on the screening, we'll be taking your calls. So don't go away.
Oh. So even before that, when we're talking wellness here, right?
Uh-huh.
Please, parents, make sure that your children are immunized. Please make sure that your children are immunized. It's going to become even stricter that your kids cannot go into school if they don't have the basic vaccines. We have an extended program of immunization, which includes getting your tetanus, your pneumonia, your measles, mumps, rubella, a set of vaccines that are required. Hep B, which you get at birth, right? So you can enter school. There's a reason why. Notice there's been measles in New York, and none of our children have measles because our children have been vaccinated. But in order to prevent any problem, we need to have at least 95% of our children vaccinated against those diseases, right? Please, that's what we call that herd immunity, where you have this 95% can protect the 5% who may not be able to take vaccines or who have not yet gained access to the vaccines or who for religious purposes do not take vaccines and are allowed to go. But we can't have 70% of our children getting polio. That's not good. That polio vaccine last year went up to like 75% uptake. That's not good. We need to have 95 so that we don't get polio. Mm-hmm. All right? So apart from that, remember the other thing, the child still needs to go to the doctor every year. So we can measure the height and the weight and the body mass index and see whether your child is obese or not. Your child needs to go to the dentist. At this age, 6 months, the child should be going to the dentist, get cleaned, look for cavities, protection, taught how to brush their teeth, how to take care of the oral hygiene. Poor teeth as you grow up causes other infections, or other diseases, and especially like nutritional diseases, because you can't eat the things. If you only have rotten teeth, you can't eat carrot and celery and the things that are hard. And if when you eat them, you don't get all the nutrients because you don't chew them up soft enough so they can extract the nutrients. Screening very early for cervical cancer. Once a woman has become sexually active, once you've had intercourse once, you should, because we know that the human papillomavirus is passed by sexual contact. Start screening. If you only had sex once in your life, you need to start screening for cancer of the cervix. 25 years at least. Learning to examine your breast, getting your breast examined by somebody. If you're over 40, getting a mammogram. Men doing a prostate. There's no need for us to die for these things. Not in this day. Like I tell you guys, take up my phone, I can talk to somebody and watch them, see all their emotions, if they're lying or not. Why must I die from something that I can prevent? Okay? If you're already screened for hypertension and diabetes, easy thing, go to the health center nurse. I want to know if pressure high. Ask a doctor. You pass and you have a doctor if you go for anything else. Going to the doctor is not only for when you're sick. Going to the doctor is for being well. Okay? Going to the doctor, you should see a doctor at least once a year to get your cholesterol checked and your prostate and your breast and look at how your kidneys function and check your eyes and all the rest of it. If you already have diseases, make sure, like diabetes, you should be seeing your doctor at least every 3 months. Okay? Hypertension, sip, and that's when you're under control. Because if you're not under control, you need to see a doctor a little more and go to the nutritionist and get your foot checked and learn how to take care of your foot and stuff. So there's a lot. Let's do better, because guess what? We know what we need and we are going to do better this year. We are. By the next 5 years, we should see chronic diseases and all the things that are preventable disappearing slowly from our community.
Yeah, indeed.
Disappearing slowly. We cannot allow the government to have, we cannot force the government, because it really is, to have to spend most of the health budget on curing things that we could have controlled.
Yes, things that, I mean, this is such an important point, Doc. You know, because a lot of times, we take things for granted, and especially men. You know, you feel something, and of course, because of that male ego, I like to call it that. Well, that's nothing, man. They're gonna pass. And we fail to visit the physician. We fail to go and say, Doc, look, I felt this, or I am feeling this. You know, do a check. Let's see what's going on. You know,
so
and we can prevent.
Screening, for example, on a lot of men, right? We talk about it and they get done. And you really need to have a digital examination, right? And then if it's that's it.
You know,
5 seconds.
You know, Doc. About 3 weeks ago, I had a friend who's hypertensive. And so from time to time I would check, you know, and inquire about, have you checked the pressure? Is everything okay? And she goes, yes, you know, I'm fine. I don't feel no headache, or, you know. And I said, yeah, so what if you're not feeling a headache? Does that mean that your your pressure is normal? Well, yes, I wouldn't know. I said, okay. The good thing is, she always has a machine in her bag. I said, let's check the pressure. Well, I said, and I insisted that we check the pressure. It was high. Excuse me.
I'll share something with you, because this thing about feeling pressure is just a fast.
And I want you to, because you know, we take things for granted too much, and we come up with our own little excuses for not wanting to do the right thing.
Yep. The blood pressure machine measures up to 300 milligrams of mercury, right? That's the highest number you can see on the machine. This lady came by one morning. I was working in this little urgent care center. And she goes, just check my pressure for me now. I said, do you feel like, what is happening? No, nothing. I just want to check my pressure. So then it goes up. Her top pressure was unmeasurable.
Oh, my.
Her bottom pressure was 170. So what do you feel? Nothing. But that's pressure at which you very likely to stroke. The pipe burst. You bleed inside your head. You would die, because that's going to be catastrophic.
Oh, yes.
So we want to save. If we're going to have health insurance, it must give us the capacity to do that those wellness management checks. Okay? Go check your pressure. Screen. Even if you have hypertension, you can go to the doctor because the insurance covers it. We don't want to have to use insurance money to give you a bed in ICU. That's avoidable. Do you understand? We don't want to use insurance money to have to amputate your foot. That's avoidable. Those are the things I'm saying. Let's make sure that the funds that we have, we use it at a primary level where you go in. You know, that primary care thing came out in the Alma Ata Convention in 1978. And we have not yet mastered the thing of having an efficient, a very efficient, ongoing, reliable, integrative quality of care, primary care service. One that is easily linked to the secondary care in the hospital. Because I'm not saying people are not going to have problems. I'm saying we're going to mitigate, we're going to try and avoid We're going to make it as little as possible, those problems that come with the diseases that we know.
Mm-hmm.
We can do it.
Of course we can.
We can. We're going to have to find a way to do it because we don't have the money to pay for the complicated situations that we see way too often. Mm-hmm. It is unfair that we don't live to 70 years of age, which is what God gives us, and which is what we sure, if we take our time and live, we would have 70 years of life, happy life.
Mm-hmm. So, Doc, let's take the break now, and when we come back, we'll open our telephone line. Stay with us, folks. We'll be back in a moment.
Healthcare pharmacies have catered for all the early shoppers. So, start your Christmas shopping now and avoid the rush. Visit Gittins Healthcare pharmacies for your gift sets, toys for the children, hair care and body care products, along with your prescription and over-the-counter medication. Shop early and avoid the Christmas rush at Gittins Healthcare pharmacies. Central Depredin Street, Guab, the corner of Victoria and Jubilee Street, Grenville, and Wall Street, Grandans.
Strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
If there was ever a time to keep and stay healthy, it's now. We at Hills and Valley are here to help you take deliberate steps to maintain your health. We stayed true to maintaining the most comprehensive rates while stocking the widest range of medicines and health devices, including personal protective equipment. There are so many benefits shopping with us. You get great savings through discounts for senior citizens and reward cards for loyal customers. Ask about owning yours today. Visit us at Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George, Jubilee Street opposite the Grenville Bus Terminal, and at Hillsborough, Carrico. Our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street also stocks the widest range of pharmaceuticals. We are with you on the hills and in the valleys. We are Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Doctor and Call, our final program for 2022. And our telephone line is open. The number is 435-2041. So if you have any questions or you'd like to contribute suggestions, we'll be happy to oblige you. Let's go to the telephone. Doctor and Call, good evening.
Hello.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Good night.
Yes.
You seem to be very plain tonight. Or otherwise. Let me tell you this. I want to ask you or Dr. Sonia. I'm an old man, over 60 years. Usually, the youth say, old man, pack up when you drive in. Old man do that. So the youth would never get old too. Anyhow, I tried to seek some medical attention. And the doctor sent me for some tests. I thought it was best to go to the general hospital. When I've been there today, and even yesterday, they didn't have, they couldn't have done, the test, or some of the tests. So I tried to seek, to get the test elsewhere. And when I went to different areas that test in St. George. And I was asked to pay $695 for these tests. I am not working. Maybe I'm retired. My money don't even reach that per month. Yet for all, I was asked to pay $695. How could I get the test? Because the hospital don't have it, Even if the hospital have it, I think you will still have to pay something, but you may have to pay less. Do you think we could able to get the people who doing this? I went at least 2 places, 600 somewhere and 5 stars somewhere, and that's fact. So maybe I cannot get the test because I do not have the money. So I'm trying to be mentally and physically well, but I cannot pay for it. I cannot get it in the hospital. They say, tell me how you can help me, how the government can help me. I'm not looking for the government to help me alone. I wanted to help all of us, especially the old people. The youth people, the youths would never get old because they call me old man. Even when I'm driving, old man, get off the road. So tell me.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. Yes.
That's a very interesting question, And the truth is, I don't have an immediate answer. And that's where universal healthcare comes, because here's this man taking steps, right, to see that he's doing well or not. But he's screening. Basically, that's what he's doing, yeah?
Yes.
He's doing his basic tests to make sure that he's okay. And that is why we need to have a fund where that can take care of these things. I know what you're talking about, because I have sent patients to the hospital to get tests. They've gone to the hospital and they can't get it done, right? I don't work in a primary care system, but the older people go to the hospital because the lab is there and the fees are much smaller, normal and comparable. Yes, and it's $700 to do a basic panel. I know that. Right? I had a relative who just got some tests done and it cost her $1,300. I guess she will, because she'd say, okay, I'm going to take this money and put it there. I mean, she works enough to be able to pay. But the bottom line is that if you don't earn that a month, you shouldn't have to pay it. And the government is going to have to kind of expedite that kind of service to ensure that people can have their screening tests and have their basic tests done. If you had diabetes, you probably have to do those tests every 3 months, some of them every 3 months. If you had kidney failure, if you had kidney disease, some of the tests you're talking about, I know what you're talking about, are going to have to be available. How do you pay when you're 60, 65 and you're on a pension? Okay?
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to ensure that I guess a kind of accelerated action. Am I right?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, no,
Something
definitely.
Something has to give because those are priorities. And I know that currently some of the lab tests at the hospitals are not available for whatever reason.
Okay.
So, sir, I applaud the fact that you actually went screening. I honestly don't know, but I think if I were you, I'd keep going because at one stage you want to fix it for the patients in the hospital.
Let's go back to the telephone. Yes. Doctor and call, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening, caller.
I want to thank you all very much for this program on the radio every Tuesday night, which I listen to. It's well educated, educational, and everything. And I say thank you very much for all the different programs. But I want to ask the doctor a question. Doc, what good for muscle spasm? I mean to say, this thing don't let me sleep in the night.
What are you? How old are you?
75.
Give me an average.
75. 75.
So you kind of need to see what it is, because sometimes it's just nutritional deficiency. Sometimes I just need some magnesium, or sometimes your calcium is low. So just like Mr. John, who's gone before you, you probably need to get your bloods done. Try taking some supplements, like some multivitamins that have like calcium and magnesium and stuff, and it should go away. But it could be nutritional. Do you take high blood pressure medications?
No, she hung up. Yeah, so she's listening.
Yeah, because if you're taking high blood pressure medication, sometimes it eliminates a little of the potassium and you get cramps and stuff. So you have to eat your vegetables but take some vitamins. But I will tell you, go let the doctor see you. Because there are a lot of reasons why you can get cramps, but sometimes your calcium is low.
Yes, indeed. Let's go back to the telephone. Doctor and call, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Citizen Augustine.
How are you doing?
And to you, Doctor, greetings.
Greetings to you, sir.
Listen, I move on the heels of that last caller. Excuse me. To thank you, Doctor. No, the female caller.
Yes.
To thank you for your patriotic, voluntary service of delivering every week health education to our people. I know you don't charge for it, Doc. I know. I hear it in your voice.
There's things you don't charge. There are things that you can't pay for.
Yes, and our people need this information. I only trust that my people are listening. We expect you to continue, Doc. We trust that the Lord will bless you and that you will come again next year to continue such marvelous work. Let's touch on a couple of things. Let's touch on a couple of things. You know, the budget, I heard you speak on the taxation on certain things. Lord of mercy. I heard some ridiculous things coming from some of them. And I say ridiculous because precisely what they are. I even heard one talking about the taxation on the rum and cigarette. No, they can't do that. Because if they do that, the men won't go and drink the rum and there's less money the woman won't get home. Godfrey, you heard that one?
I try not to listen to them.
But you have to listen. Well, at least you're here. The thing is this. It's a marvelous, I think, from what I'm gathering there, we're heading in the right direction. I think that there are some people who are thinking now with this new administration. And they're seeing the interconnection. And I think it's extremely important that we move along these lines. We are what we eat. Greater controls have to be placed on the things that are sold to our people and what we eat. We cannot ban them. We cannot prohibit their use. But I'll tell you, for me, I'll ban all, for me, if I had my way, I'll ban the Boca, what do you call it again? The Boca Bola and the Ben Bucky Bride. They will never sell in this country, but we can't do that. WTO, isn't it? But in fact, if we do not move towards having some level of control on the things that we sell to our people, that we allow our children to eat, etc., these things also have their setbacks, their drawbacks, Doctor, because listen, just to get this one, you know much for a pound of sweet potato in this here country today? $8 EC, $3 US. Caray. That tells us that some of us can't eat well. No, that's a good thing for us. I love it. I used to buy 3 pounds every 2 weeks. Now I had to buy 1. Eating in Grenada is a major problem because the price, especially for own agricultural produce, is running without control. That has to be controlled too. Something has to be done there. There was one other aspect I wanted to touch on, but primarily I think the first thing I wanted to do, Doctor, I even heard a weird comment from a high-level person in this here country. The reduction on the VAT on condoms was jeered at. I'd like you to spend a couple of minutes and talk about the importance of that. Yes, you can get it free in certain places and so on. But the connection with diseases, how do they call them again? Sexually transmitted diseases. And in certain parts of the world, these things are blowing up again. I'd like you to make a comment on that because this is not a joke. The issue with the condom, I think, is a very wise idea, and people should be encouraged to use this thing because it serves its purpose. So as I end, I repeat, excellent job you have been doing with Citizen Augustine there. Our people hopefully are listening. We hope to see it. And I do wish you, for what's left of the year, a happy, pay attention. I don't glorify Santa Claus. As a matter of fact, I feel he should be burnt. Happy Feast of the Nativity, Doctor, you and your family.
Thank you.
And trust that you'll be back with us next year by the grace of God.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye
caller.
now.
Thank you very much indeed, yes.
So as usual, our call is stimulating. So I'm going to start with the condom thing first because it created such intrigue. It's funny because people have compared decreasing condom taxes with increasing sugar taxes, like if sugar was essential. So I want to start with sugar. Sugar is not an essential part of our diet. As a matter of fact, sugar is probably one of the most toxic substances that we consume. And I'll say it again. Sugar is one of the most toxic substances that we take in. It's there, it's available, it tastes nice as far as we're concerned, but we have too much of it. You make Marby, you make the Marby thick like syrup. You make gospel juice, you make the gospel juice sweet, you can hardly taste the gospel. You make lime juice, we make golden apple stew, we make whatever it is. We use too much sugar. And the sugar does cause us two things: to get fat, obesity, and the sugar does cause us to have other diseases like diabetes. Okay? And we know what that costs us. We can talk for a week about what diabetes is, but we've talked about that exhaustively in a year, and we'll come back again and talk about it next year. There's always a next way to spin it. All right?
Definitely.
So I'm glad you brought up that. Yeah. And for the people who are talking about sugar is not essential, okay? If every day you put less and less sugar, after a while you drink your coffee without sugar and never realize there's no sugar.
Well, the liver produces sugar on its own already. So it really is burning out our pancreas that produces insulin and causes us to have just too much too much diabetes in the community. It's expensive to manage diabetes. If you look at the cost of the new diabetes medication, do they work? Yes, they do, but they're prohibitively expensive. We can't even recommend them for our patients here. Okay, so I'm glad he brought that up. Condoms. Let's go back to.
If we listen to hold on, if we listen to what the Prime Minister said about condoms, he qualified it very well by saying that we are seeing an increase in HIV. People have become careless about HIV because we haven't talked a lot about it in the last decade. One, they become careless because there's medications, right? And because the medications are provided probably free, if not at very nominal cost to people with HIV. And we know that we've been careless. Since HIV, the world population has increased by almost 50%. So we're having sex without any protection. The bottom line is that there are other things about it, but I think the Prime Minister was quite right, because that is almost like taking a vaccine against HIV. So why not take the tax off it? What we need to do is become very responsible and mature, okay? And figure out how we're going to behave ourselves. Are we going to just go around and put Willie over there willy-nilly? Is that what we're going to do? Have sex with everybody, male or female, unprotected? And it costs, because you get your HIV drugs free. It is not free. It's free to you. Somebody gives you without a cost. Those drugs are very expensive. And we want to thank former Prime Minister George W. Bush, President Bush, who made that effort to ensure that the cost of HIV drugs were almost free, especially in the third world. Certainly in sub-Saharan Africa, we just had an epidemic that wiped out so many people. There are countries in the world where 4 people will be interviewed for the same job, knowing that it's likely that 3 of them actually have HIV and will be dead within a year. That's what happened when we did not have HIV drugs.
Let's go back to the telephone. Dr. on call, good evening.
Greetings. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yes, good evening, yes.
And Doctor, I think Dr. Sonia, again a special greetings to you and all the best for the holiday. And the previous caller says, we're looking forward for continuation next year. I think it's the first time I have the opportunity to call, and I hope I have gotten you correctly. I did not get everything thoroughly, but I just want to zero in on, for now, the National Health Insurance. I think you touched on some factors that relate to the success or the practicality of this National Health Insurance. And I was just wondering if, for example, the medical association, that's an umbrella word I'm using, the specific name you will know. But in particular, persons as yourself, is there a forum or is there some committee that you participate on so that ideas which I got from you tonight, concerns raised, which to me, they are valid, to share this to the powers that be in going forward, despite the fact that for some years now, this whole idea have been promoted, and I think some research studies have been done in that. But nonetheless, it's a new administration. We're talking about transformation. And even if that wasn't the case, but we need to look at it in a practical way. And if I got you correctly, I think you touched on the whole idea of the quality of the health service that we hoping to achieve. We're hoping that there is no compromise with, we're hoping that there will be fairness. I think you looked at that. The whole idea of accessibility, so that there's no, let's say, person who could afford and then there's a local man as myself who cannot. The whole idea of risk and looking into the future, what will be the case if, for example, I think some years ago there was some concerns, some big bacchanal, I think in Antigua with that similar program, National Health Insurance. I don't know what have happened afterwards. And even right here in Grenada, we have the NIS, this kind of financial sustainability concern. So to me, these are relevant factors. And then the touch, and Brother Godfrey expanded it in terms of the attitude of the workers, compassion, how they treat the patient, but not only that, different workers specialize in different areas. So even the person who clean the floors or take care of the patient with a bedpan, equally important to the doctors and nurses. This type of things. The whole idea of medication, as one of your callers talked about it. How do you see the relation of the prolification, not the increase, the expansion in private medical institutions? How do you see that affecting the NHS, the National Health Insurance? How do you see that? I've been listening to some of the calling programs, and there have been people who complaining that when they go to the medical, not only the pharmacy, the government pharmacy, that they get problem to get basic medication. But more than that, some of them complain that if they get a prescription from a private doctor, sometimes they don't pay for it, sometimes it could be some relationship. But however, the prescription was signed by a private doctor, they do not get, they cannot get the medication in the government pharmacy. These are some concerns which I think we have to look at. And I think, again, sorry if I misinterpret you, I did not get everything clear, but I think you raised a lot of factors tonight in terms of the success, as I say, going forward with the National Health Insurance, or else we will just be having something, a system for having it set, and then in the future, I or others may not be wrong. It can be a disaster. And I think you did mention too the whole idea of the economics of our population in terms of the amount of persons. I think that is called economy of scale, something like that. So how do we factor all these and many others, which I have in mind now, I can't say it. But one of the issues, though, how do people like yourself, how are you incorporated in the whole planning and consultation in a serious way going forward? As I said, it might just sound good to the population, but at the end of it, it might be just be separating the upper class from the lower class, and then another mirage of problems comes up, and then again we can be like Haiti. Oh God, all the best again. I'm continuing with you, Brother Godfrey, what you're doing. I'm happy I got I called for the first time because I've been touched most of the time when I listen, but tonight with the National Health Insurance, I say no, and it might be well for Godfrey to replay tonight's program. And I will end, let me end, I think I had with Godfrey, whether he agrees with me or not, that whatever the issue or the debate comes with this sugar and this condom, whatever it is, I think the impact maybe of this pronouncement in Parliament might be a lot greater than the many years and different programs that have been talked about on health issues, because how it was presented and the political debate that comes up and many people talking about it even on the street, whereas programs like yours, I could be wrong, but it's limited. There's tight competition with the young people, like I keep saying these days. I think the Bible and Bob Marley, one of them, put it together. In the abundance of water, a fool is thirsty. We have social media, we have reggae calypso, we have FM stations. So the young people, they're not gravitating to this. And even this afternoon, and Brother Godfrey's Agriculture Simple program, a similar question was brought up. But it's not only repackaging what we're saying, but a matter of how do we get the young people who will be the people who will be most likely be affected next 5-10 years. How do we get them to pay attention? And I will end by saying we need to take a balanced, integrated, holistic approach in not just one way. This thing called for not only all hands to the bone, but you have to be honest and just don't look at things in a narrow way, but in a broad way, so we can get the solution that we purport to get. Or else, to me, we will just creating more problems. Thanks again for accommodating me. All the best.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Yes. Thank you, sir, because you've answered a lot of the questions that you asked. And I understand a little frustration that lies underneath a deep concern. So thank you for calling. So hear me. One, I think we have to continue education. When you're talking about the youth, education has to reach the youth where the youth are, so they can understand that they too are an integral part of a bigger society. One. In relation to the national health insurance, and I think I want to look at universal health care, which is the nomenclature we're using, meaning that everybody has access, and that's what it's supposed to mean. It's actually supposed to eliminate chances for having catastrophic events where you have to, we talked about it, spend your family money. It must give access, universal access. Everyone should have access to the same quality of care. And I do agree with you. We have to ensure that the quality of care that will be delivered to our population is the best. So there must not be tiered care. So because I'm Dr. Nixon, my housekeeper should not have any less right. She must have same right, same access, same quality, and receive the same respect, simply because she's a citizen. I don't know how the government plans to approach it. I know they're going to re-engage the company. Don't remember Diff, something like that. You know, with Dr. Ned.
Yes, Dr. Ned, yes.
Right. So they have said that they're going to re-engage them. I'm sure there'll be discussions that will ensure that universal healthcare is just that. Because there has been, concern as to whether exactly what the gentleman spoke about. Will everybody have the same right to the same care based on their needs? So hopefully that is what's going to happen. Let's see. And of course, I'm sure the people, you guys are the ones who are to be pressuring the government.
Well,
the Medical Association has its responsibility. We as professionals who are going to deliver care have to make sure it must go beyond that of what we earn, what we get from it in our pockets. Mm-hmm. It must make sure that we employ all high ethical thoughts in endorsing or not whatever is proposed. Because our responsibility is to ensure, we as caregivers must ensure that our potential is not stymied, it's not held on, what I can give you. So if you come to my office, Godfrey, or the gentleman who just called, or the first man who came, and he needs to have his test, because I want to do his screen, I think he deserves this. There must be access regardless of who he is. And I don't know who this gentleman is. He sounds like a decent, humble Grenadian citizen, the first man. But he has a right, because that's what universal health care we called it the National Health Insurance in Grenada, but Universal Healthcare across the world, that is what it ensures, that everybody gets the basic stuff and beyond. And it grows, it gets bigger. Because if we focus a lot on primary care, the less sick people we have and the more services we can afford to deliver.
Yes, indeed.
Is it going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy in the beginning. It's not going to be easy to put people there, to tell you have to go and do your screening. You have to go to this doctor. It's not going to be easy. But as we grow, as we learn, as we make sure that education about self-help and health insurance is saying, we shouldn't have abuse of the system, but we should have proper use of the system, maximization of the use of the system in order to make sure that we're all well. But we alone can't do it. This calls for collective action. Everybody has to be responsible.
Right.
National health insurance is everybody's business.
It is.
Because it's going to be of benefit to everyone.
Right. So I have one last comment I'm going to take, and it's from one of our Facebook users, and they're there with us. And Yulin is asking, Dr. Sonia, can you tell me what are the exact numbers to say that someone's pressure is normal?
120 over 80. The younger you are, you should be a little lower than that. But 120 over 80, once you start to go over 120 and start to go over 80, you're not doing good business, okay? Good business is lower than that. If you have diabetes, however, you must make sure that your sugar is lower. Your blood pressure, is lower. Mm-hmm. So your top pressure shouldn't exceed 110, and your bottom pressure shouldn't exceed 70. Right. Because remember, the diabetes and hypertension are like Bonnie and Clyde, two wicked things walking together. If you give them too much guns, they're going to shoot at everybody and obliterate, mash up, right? Whatever you have, especially your blood, the blood vessels. Right. So you lose your eye, you lose your heart, you lose your brain, you lose your kidney, you lose your circulation. You want to make sure that your pressure is controlled. People with diabetes almost invariably have elevated blood pressure. If you have sugar, it is very likely that your pressure would also be high. So you have to be very cautious and really work hard to keep it down. All right? Mm-hmm. And like I tell you, we have to get to the Bonnie and Clyde.
So let's see if we can squeeze in one final call, and then we'll wrap for this evening. Dr. on call, good evening.
Yes, Mr. Augustine, good evening, and good evening to Dr. Nixon.
Yes, good evening.
I remember sometimes years ago when I was at SC, you came to a class I was attending and you spoke
about... I'm sorry, I'm not hearing what you're saying.
Oh, I'm saying...
the closer to the phone. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I said some time ago when I was at SD, I remember you came and spoke about this human papillomavirus. But yes. I never got it. Just how do you get this virus? What is that virus? What is its origin? Where does it come from?
So the human papillomavirus is probably the most frequent sexually transmitted. It comes from one sexual partner to the other. It's as simple as that.
It's a sexually transmitted disease.
I'm sorry?
Is it a sexually transmitted virus?
It is sexually transmitted. You can have HPV elsewhere now.
But I would have liked the origin. How did the human get it? Where did they get it from?
Well, we've been around a long time. We don't know who had it first.
Okay.
Quite a few years, okay? But it is, and for some people, you might get infected. You have a sexual partner and you get infected. I'm talking HPV in relation to cancer of the cervix, okay? So you may acquire the virus by sexual contact. But some people's bodies just eliminate, cut off the neck of that and it goes on. Some people don't. And some people are more prone to developing inflammation and eventually cancer on the cervix. Hence, it is very important that once you've had intercourse, even once in your life, right, that you do pap smears. We're moving to testing for HPV in the vaginal environment. If it's there, you should do your pap smear at least once every year or every 2 years. If it's not there, if you don't have HPV and you're not having sex, you don't need to do pap smears. If you don't have HPV, but you have to check for HPV first. Are we doing it routinely? No. Is it expensive? A tad. If you want to do it, you can ask your private doctor to do it for you. And they send a sample away, and you know whether or not you have to.
Doing it, and remember you spoke about it at the class, and then I don't know what it was about because just the information at the class. And I said, well, what is this about? Because I had a grandniece that died after taking an injection for this HPV. She was 12 years old, so I just was curious as to know.
And that is very, 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 very rare. Okay, because part of the reason why we've had challenge globally with uptake in HPV is that they said it does X. What did the child die of?
Well, they say, finally, I didn't really hear what that originally she went to get an injection for this HPV, and eventually she died. So I did not hear specifically what was the cause of that. All I said was she had underlying, quote unquote.
But that is very rare, I'm telling you.
What is underlying?
Very, very rare. I'm sorry to hear this, but it's very rare. Okay, and the vaccine is given to girls between 9 and 11 in our environment because that's the time when your body develops the best immune response, the best response to prevent if you should contract the virus, come in contact with the virus. Your body should be able to take it and eliminate it. Inclusive, you can actually give your boy children vaccines too,
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kola. Thank you very much indeed. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So that was our final call, Doc. We're out of time. And let me just say that, I really want to say a very special thanks to some of our Facebook fans who've always been on the program with us. Cynthia B., Yulin Alexander. There's also our good friend, what's the name? Moni Williams. And so these are people who are always there with us, and we really appreciate you. We thank you for always being there with us, for your comments, your good wishes, and all of that. And so we want to wish you an enjoyable season and a really, really productive 2023. We look forward to coming back in January and having you there with us. In fact, these people, they don't only follow our doctrine call, but every program that we have here on the network, they are there with us, encouraging and always, giving kind words, sometimes sharing a little joke so we can all have a little laughter in between. So we thank you all very much, Monet, Cynthia, Yulin, all the others, those in Canada, Cleveland, all over the world. We thank you so very much for staying with us, and we're looking forward to coming back in January on Doctrine Core. Just want to encourage your people, folks, it's important as we move into 2023, let us make our health our number one priority. We spoke about quite a few things that we can do. Let us give serious thought to them. Let us give consideration to keeping our environment clean. Let us, make that special effort to get screened, to eat properly, to exercise, to behave ourselves in a manner that will not compromise our health. So let's give serious thought to that, and let's move into the new year. And I want to borrow some words from the Prime Minister with a transformative attitude. Doc, your closing words.
What did you say? Oh, my closing words?
Yes.
Well, I'm good. I can end with the words from Sylvester Stallone. I'll be back.
But
yes. I want to thank people who have really taken us into their bedrooms and to their living rooms or on their phones, wherever they have. Thank you. But I'm going to charge you a couple things. One, I want you to start sharing information, start the discussion. Anything you learn, share. One, share with somebody. Two, I want you to start practicing, like I said earlier, at least one thing that you learn every week. Or go on your phone. If you talk about something, go read about it. Get health aware, get health knowledgeable. And I want you to listen, thirdly, to what the government is doing. Stay on top of the government. That's what they're there for, so that we can support them, not blindly, but informedly. Okay? We all have to be a part of this for it to work. The Prime Minister can change Grenada. Grenada have to change itself. And Grenada is all 100,000 of us. Okay? He can lead. The Ministry of Health can lead. I want you to listen to what the other ministries and other agencies are saying. And just even the little support groups. What are they saying? How are they integrating all the plans? We still need to give the health sector a little break. I know they're trying. A lot of changes required so that absolutely perfect to get to utopia in relation to the quality of care we can have. But don't be afraid to be firm in making demands. Ask why is that not there. Don't go and cuss up the nurse and the doctor, please. If you cuss me up, I'm going to put you to the office. Tell you straight out, right? The bottom line is that understand that the staff, they too understand the things that are deficient. They do it every day and they're frustrated. We need to support them. We need to encourage from outside that the ministry who leads this and the government in general, because other agencies also have responsibility, other ministries, ensure that health care is given priority. And we thank the Prime Minister for putting it as a number one priority on the budget, but that we want it to be tangible. We want to see things come out of it. It's going to be a new year, but it starts now. We're in transformation. We're moving along slowly. We're changing slow as we go along. So think about how you're going to eat for Christmas. Take your medications if you're hypertensive, diabetic. Exercise. Don't stop it because it's Christmas and you're partying too much. Encourage young people. Have discussions at your home. Start having the discussions at your dining table. How can we change? What can we do better? Yeah, you're going to have somebody who's going to say no, but that's okay. That's probably 1 out of the 10 of you, right? I want you to make this whole health thing a family thing, a community thing, a thing. Me, how I start, how do I share with my girlfriends at work? You and your colleagues can decide, okay, here's what we're eating this week. Let's take the cuckoo out and let's just have salad and a meat. Also, bring a lunch for somebody. I'll bring lunch for you tomorrow. And you guys talk about healthy dieting. Talk about healthy diet. Walk. Take a 15-minute break after you have lunch. Just get up and walk. Walk with your sneakers. Just go around and talk. So 1 o'clock when you start back working, your brain is firing. Remind each other to do your pap smears and your breast examination, all that. We are each other's keeper in this. Okay, we have to do things. While the government facilitates, we have to do things. And we will be a better 100,000 people. I promise us this. I wish you guys all the best. I wish you a happy season. I wish you a season of hope and love and sharing and kindness. Remember the people out there, people on the street. Help them out. Give somebody something. You don't have to spend all the money this year. Okay? Please help those who need help. And those who need help, don't be afraid to reach out. We have to take Grenada forward together. And I wish us all the best in 2023. Godfrey, thank you for tolerating me. Despite the fact that you harass me all the time.
Well, Doc, I'll tell you this. I couldn't do it without you. I really couldn't do it without you. And I don't think you will ever be able to understand how important having you on the program is.
Thank you so much.
It is.
And thank you to all the people who called me in town and embarrassed me because they said, "Hi, Dr. Nixon." I don't know who they are, but I'm good that way. I say, "Hi, how are you doing?"
Yes, indeed.
But if you have questions, you see me and you want to ask a question, don't be afraid. I'm that way. Yeah. I want to thank my friend Denise, who's just a recent returnee to Grenada, who's been keeping me on, who sent me messages during our program. Denise, thank you. I love you, my primary school friend. And I won't even tell you guys how much years that is. But thank you, Denise. And thanks to everybody who comes on this program and tolerates, even when we make mistakes and we talk long and we say things that you probably don't like. The ball is in your court. Wish you the best for this season, and we're going towards a great 2023. It doesn't really matter what.
Yes, okay? Indeed.
God bless you, everybody.
Doc, thank you so much again. Thank you all. I'll be back tomorrow evening. We've got a release it program where we'll be looking back at 2022. Yeah? So I'm looking forward to being with you again. And so get your questions ready, get your discussions ready. We're going to have a great time as always. So until then, thank you once again, and do have a good night. All the best.